Welcome back to the Beyond Limits podcast. I'm Olivia Marie, and I have a very exciting guest with me today. I've been trying to get her on the podcast for a couple years, so this is perfect. She is here to share her magic, her wisdom, and I guarantee this is going to be an episode you will never forget. So with that being said, Alisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's so nice to be able to do this in person and not virtual, so I'm so happy this worked out.
Me too. And for those people who aren't familiar with you and kind of what you do, introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
Okay, so I have For Her Kind, and you are a wonderful long-term client of For Her Kind and a beautiful model. I'll add that. We work with women and we coach them into getting into the best shape of their life. And that's pretty much it, creating consistency and more confidence. And the way that I started getting into that was I found that I was doing everything wrong. There was just way too much information in the health and fitness industry. And once I actually started to simplify and gained more education in the body recomposition field, I was like, I need to tell everyone about this. It is not as hard as it seems. And we don't need to be focusing on, those little distractions. And we can really just hone in on, training only 3 days a week and, some tweaks with our nutrition and getting in the best shape of our life. So that is For Her Kind. And then I also work with women and I help them understand their bodies in a new way. So it's a new paradigm. It's different than the mainstream narrative, and it shows them that their symptoms are not something to fear, but it's actually part of a meaningful adaptation and healing process. So we move away from fear.
There's so much I'm going to want to touch on this episode. I'm going to start off with For Her Kind. Let me just say first off, if you want to be in the best shape of your life, you need to join For Her Kind. Like, I'm just going to say that, we can cut that sound point for you, because I remember working so hard, and I kind of want to talk about this. I was going to spin 4 or 5 times a week, Pilates 5 times a week, doing all of these things. And I'm just going to be honest, I was like a noodle. I was never I was skinny fat. I was I was lean, but I wasn't going to have muscle. There was no tone. And I just always looked up to you and your physique. And I was like, Alisa, for those of you watching, I went to naturopathic school with Alisa. So I always we've been friends for years. Alisa has the best body on this planet. Her legs are incredible. I was like, you know what? If she can do it, I'm going to hire her. Tell me how to do it. And through the body recomposition, 3.5 years later, I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the best shape of my life. And I want you to really talk about where women go wrong, or kind of the myths so many women think in terms of, the Pilates, or they're doing this. Where do you feel women are going wrong when it comes to their physique? And where do you feel people need to break out of that narrative, as opposed to what FHK does? Because I work out 3 times a week, and it's fabulous. It's so efficient.
So good. And I just want to touch on Pilates first, because Pilates is amazing, and I know it's all the rage out there, all the craze out there right now. It is dessert, right? Strength training needs to be your main meal and your main focus, because that's actually gonna be what creates that toned look. And so many women, they're either overtraining, so they're not giving their bodies a chance to heal, or they're not lifting heavy enough. And I see that all the time. So the reason why we train 3 days a week is because you have that rest time in between to actually allow your muscles to grow. And women also underestimate how much muscle tone they need in order to have that toned look that, unfortunately, Pilates is not going to give you.
So why is it, I think I've heard you speak on this, whether it was on a story or a reel before, why some people, when they see the Pilates people, and they see those people look like that, and they think they're gonna, I did Pilates for 6 years, I never looked like that, and I'm very disciplined, I was never gonna get there. Why do some people do Pilates and then they have that look, and I won't name names, but I think you can, you know who I'm talking about, and then some people don't, so people can say, oh, but so-and-so does that, and she looks like that. So can you explain that whole thing and what's going on there?
Yeah, it comes down to levels of body fat, right? Calories in, calories out. At the end of the day, if you're eating more than you're consuming, then you're going to be hiding the muscle. So what we do in FHK is we take women through phases, because it's this dance between building muscle and losing fat. You can't just be dieting for a long time and lifting heavy, because you're not going to build any muscle. So again, we have to spend time building muscle to get strong, and then we have to reveal the muscle by losing the fat.
I think that's so important, because I think a lot of women, if they want to lose fat, they're not eating enough to build the muscle, and so there's nothing being built behind the fat, if I'm understanding properly. And so when you lose the fat, it's not revealing anything because you didn't build the muscle behind it.
You just look the same.
Yeah. And this is probably
But
where the
smaller.
frustration comes. And then maybe they feel like they need to diet more or push harder. And then they get stuck in like this loop where they don't feel like they're really going anywhere.
Yeah, and then that's when you're on the hamster wheel or chronic dieting. I see that all the time. Either they're like, I'm doing everything and not getting any results, or I've done it all, I've lost the weight, but I look the same, just like a smaller version of me. I'm not seeing that muscle definition that I want, right? That toned look that is so desirable that you model.
I mean, it's all thanks to you. So when we talk about training, just so that everyone understands like the type of training you're referring to and like lifting heavy, what does that look like? And also, why does that actually not make women bulky? Because I will tell you 10 years ago, maybe even 7 years ago, I would have been like, I can't lift this heavy. My thighs will be ginormous and my legs are the best they ever look. So
Yeah.
what does actual strength training look like and mean, and why and how does that not make women bulky?
So with strength training that we do is you're actually lifting to the point where you're not having a conversation during these training sessions, right? Like during a set, if we're programming, 12 reps for shoulder press, those last couple reps, you're not looking cute, right? Like your face, you're grinding them out and you're leaving like 2 to 3 reps in reserve to the point where your form would not look the same, right? We want to keep form proper for proper technique and safety and things like that, but it should be really, really hard for those last couple of reps. Most of the time, women are getting to, the rep target that's prescribed and they're just like 11, 12. The velocity or the speed of the rep looks the same as rep 1. Rep 12 should look significantly different, or at least slower. Sorry, not different. Form, you want your form good. But it's gonna look a lot slower than your first rep. And that's the difference. Huge difference, yeah.
I find that like if I'm not like swearing or making a face in that last rep, I'm not going hard enough. Like when people, I know some girls go to the gym and they look cute. I'm like, my last rep, my face ain't looking cute. And if my face is looking cute, I'm not going hard enough. And I think, from just now that I've been training with you for so long, when I observe other women now, I can see that they're not going, I think they don't know about technical failure or actually going like how much that they need to lift. And maybe they also assume that they can't lift more.
Yeah.
Or they have to stay within the arm things of like 10 pounds or 12 pounds because I think, if I do 20, then I'll get bulky, and then it becomes this kind of like a vicious cycle.
Yeah, and that's not what's going to happen, and that's why it's so important to combine proper nutrition with strength training, and having a coach can be so helpful for that because there's so much more clarity and there's so many nuances. It can be really confusing to try and figure it out on your own. And I remember that was something that you said to me. You're like, I don't have the time to figure this out on my own. I can, for sure, probably. You're smart. But this is not where I'm going to put my focus and attention, so I'm going to hire you.
Yeah, I'm too busy. Like, I just want you to tell me what to do, what to eat, when we're doing it, and I'm a very compliant client. Like, you tell me to jump, I do it.
And that's the thing too, like you can get similar results for sure, still by doing proper nutrition and going to the gym 5 to 7 days per week. But for the average women, especially when women go on to have families and things like that, going to the gym that frequently is not sustainable, right?
Yeah.
So going, 2 or 3 days of progressive overload is really all you need to see results and to maintain your results, which I am obsessed with because it allows me to travel, it allows me to, start new businesses and all the things.
That's really what I love, is the efficiency.
Yeah.
And I'm all about efficiency. I'm like, if I can get more results working out 3 days a week than what I was doing 5 to 7, like, why wouldn't I? And like you said, whether you want to travel, you have businesses, maybe you're a mom, it doesn't matter. No one can tell me that they love trying to fit 5 to 7 days of like workout classes a day in a week. Like, as someone who used to do that, I'm like, it took so much time, like there's no way. So we love that. We love efficiency. Can you just quickly, you mentioned progressive overload, just for everyone watching. What is progressive overload? And like, how would I know if I'm in progressive overload?
Yes, okay, first of all, track your workouts, right? Track the weights that you're using every single session, and you're making sure that you are either lifting a couple more pounds or achieving a few more reps every single session, or at least over time, right? Maybe not every session is a great session if you're in luteal or whatever, but progressive overload simply means you're getting stronger. Your relative strength is increasing over time. So maybe last year you were deadlifting 100 pounds, and now this year you're deadlifting like 125 or something like that. Obviously those increments are going to shrink as you get stronger, but there's still always room for improvements with training. Training should forever be humbling, like you with your chin-ups, right? We're making those more challenging as you get better at them.
I mean, I actually think I enjoy the humbling of it.
Yeah.
And I remember when we started, and I'll admit this fully, I couldn't do a proper push-up. I remember when I signed up with you, I was still in Florida, and we did a trial, I don't know, some random gym, maybe Planet something, it was whatever the local one was. And I was like, dear Lord, I cannot do a proper push-up. This is sad. I've been working out for like years, and but I was willing to look like the newbie, or to like look like, you know, I'm not lifting that much, to use machines that only the bros were using. Like there was okay, I might not look the best doing this, but like I put myself out there and I just committed to learning and be willing to like not be perfect at it and be willing to be new. And I think that also, and maybe we can touch on this now, does a lot for your mindset. I feel like it's made me so resilient, and like when I go to the gym and I can lift heavy, I feel strong, like I feel good. And to me, that for women is so empowering, both not just in the gym, but how they feel outside their lives. So could you speak to that? I'm sure you have like more people like me who say that in FHK, and how that really like supports the mindset too.
Yeah, I always say to our clients, you know, we make it intentionally hard in here, a little bit makes it a little bit easier out there.
That's so true.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, you can be, whether or not you grew up as an athlete or you have any experience in the gym before, choosing something that is going to be intentionally hard, or starting a new skill or something like that, is going to improve your resilience in other areas of life, 100%. Gym growth translates to other areas all the time, and we love to see that. Like the amount of clients that I have had start the program and then find so much confidence in the gym and how they're feeling, and you know, carrying this new confidence through life, that they start new businesses, or you know, they make a big move, and it's just so cool to see that translation.
And that like it's not just confidence and obviously their physique, because like there's the physique transformation, the recomposition, but like you said, it's also the areas outside of that I'm sure even their marriages, how they feel in the bedroom. Like I feel like it's everywhere. Essentially, you need to be strength training.
Yeah, and like keeping promises to yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like that, you improve so much, like self-worth, right? The self-value goes up.
I would love it, because we also do nutrition. And with nutrition, I want you to talk about protein for us. Because protein, everyone's like protein now, which is fabulous, because I remember back when I was helping people with their diets, they weren't getting enough protein. I mean, I think there still are women who wake up and don't get 30 grams of protein, but there is like a craze where like there's protein chips, protein gum. Yeah. Can you talk to us about like the importance of protein, and can you overdo protein? Should you be doing as much protein as you can, and like your whole philosophy on that and the relation to like carbs and fats and all that?
Yeah, so just for any of the listeners, if I would recommend 0.7 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. That's kind of your baseline. That's where most of the research shows you're getting the biggest benefits. And remember, muscle is bougie, okay? So it is expensive to maintain.
Oh.
Yes, yeah. So in order to maintain the muscle that you have, or to be able to actually build some, you need to be feeding it with the building blocks to do so. So that is why muscle or protein is so important. And then when it comes to, you know, satiety, that's another thing too. And when it comes to, you know, hormone health and all of those things, super important. In terms of overdoing it, that's super difficult. It's really like, it would be tons and tons and tons of protein, which isn't really a concern for the average person. I always say, you know, when in doubt, just increase protein. Even when you're trying to lose weight, it is just so helpful, because it is slightly more thermogenic. And thermogenic, so is fiber. So that's why we do both. But thermogenic means you actually burn calories, or you use energy to digest it, which is why it can be so helpful with dieting as well.
You know what I find? I find that women think they're getting a lot of protein. And I remember this back in the day, and even like friends I'll talk to, track your protein for a day. Most of them are like, oh, I eat a lot of protein. I have 2 eggs at breakfast. I'm like, great,
Not
that's
protein.
like 14 grams. Oh, I had 7 shrimp in my salad. I'm like, there's no way you're hitting enough protein. So I honestly think everyone after this episode in general, track your protein for a day, so you at least get an idea, because so many people I think they're getting a lot, or think it has so much, and it's really not. I mean, even 3 eggs, it's 21 grams. Like, where's the rest?
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's actually not that hard. Like once you start to do it and you get like support, or you know, find some meals that your like go-to meals that you really, really love, it's not that hard. It's just a matter of being willing to change things up, or being willing to take a little bit more effort, and be more intentional with your meals and meal planning.
So what is your go-to, like, I think they're calling it hyperfixation meals now. What's your go-to hyperfixation meal right now?
Honestly,
It can be as random. I don't care what it is.
Hyperfixation, it's literally a convenience thing because Ryan makes meal kits and he literally just freezes chicken breast, rice, and frozen veg, and it's like my healthy microwavable meal. I add some, my condiment is Greek yogurt and hot sauce. So then I have like a taco bowl and it literally takes me 3 minutes.
I love that. It's so easy.
So easy.
Mine is still the beef and bananas.
I still haven't done it. It's on my mind. I'm like, Ryan, we need to do this beef and banana thing. Obviously, he's more of the chef, but
I eat it every single day. Like I still eat it every single day with hot honey because I like the clean carbs from the banana. So I like in terms of carbs having that.
Okay, I'm gonna go home and have it when I get back to Utah, and I will report back.
It's not my thing. Like it's on the internet. That's where I got it from. Like it's a trend.
But I heard it from you, so we'll say it's yours.
Wrap up before we go into the other aspect of what you help women with, because that's also like fire. Is there any other like things that you see in terms of women with physique, nutrition, fitness, like online that really bother you that you wish like women would either stop doing, or you think that like, oh, it irks me when people say this because it's like not true? Like, what do you feel like every woman needs to know that maybe they're getting misinformation from online?
To stop relying on anything outside of you, like an array supplement or even creatine, any sort of gummy.
I was gonna ask you about creatine. That just reminded me. I was like, okay.
Yeah. It's everything. Nothing's gonna work unless you do, honestly. So you can't be relying on these supplements here and there to get you the results that you want.
Yeah, I mean, you can't out-supplement like the work you have to do.
No, and this translates into the other stuff I do. Like no pill, no supplement, no program. Nothing is gonna work without you.
Do you like creatine?
That is the one supplement that is really well researched and actually does have benefits. You don't need the fancy women's brand of it or anything like that. Just simple creatine monohydrate. 2 to 3 grams a day. If you're consistent, right? It's like anything. If you're not consistent, there's no point because it can actually just create some water fluctuations in your body, and no woman likes that. So if you are going to be consistent with it, it can help you, get a couple extra reps. So it can help you with progressive overload. And there's really good research for brain health as well.
Okay, so because I've been taking creatine. I mean, I can't say like I think it's been making a huge difference. But I just wanted to get your thoughts. So I'm glad I got your thoughts. But 100%. I don't think like you can take a supplement and that's gonna like rev your metabolism more than eating proper protein, training properly, doing the progressive overload and technical failure and all of that. Like there's no way that some miracle supplement or like creatine is gonna do all that.
No, and the nutrition and the training, honestly, like if I were to write it out for everyone on paper, as you know, it actually looks like really simple.
It's so easy. I can't tell you like how easy it is to follow.
Yeah, it's just, knowledge is one thing, its application is a whole another, ball game. And that's why coaching can be so helpful for women, especially when they're, doing other things.
I mean, like I said, I think every woman on the planet should hire you and or your team because you can't afford not to know how to properly train and fuel yourself as a woman.
If you have not yet followed and subscribed to the show, I would love it if you would. It helps us bring on more guests that allow you to live beyond limits. And with that, let's get back to the show.
Like, I just don't think you can't afford not to, especially like aging wise. I know we talk about physique, but muscle is so important as you get older and especially for bone health. Like you can't afford not to. And like you said, the dessert, if you want to do the trendy Pilates classes and like that is great, but like actually do it for you and your health and your longevity. And like this is where I see like the 70-year-old women on like Instagram who are like fit. I'm like, that's gonna be me. I've only gotten better looking with age. But like those are gonna be the people who don't have like, the saggy skin. Like they're gonna be still toned. There's gonna be muscle and like start now.
Yeah, and one more thing too, like you're not the exception, you're the only exception, or you're only the exception if you believe that you are. Like we're always proven right. So just decide what you want to believe in, really.
Actually, I'll say one more thing and then we'll dive into the other thing you do. Because I remember back when we were in school together, I just thought that I was the type of woman who would always not have good legs. I just thought, okay, it's genetic, that's just where I store fat and blah, blah, blah. And then when I started doing like more mindset work, as I started my business, I was like, wait, I do this for business. Why the hell is this not true for my physique? I'm like, what are you talking about? No, like anything is possible. I just need to find the person who can tell me how to make it possible. And I'm telling you, if I didn't find you, I would still be looking like a noodle. Like it is just, you're so right. You have to believe it's possible versus saying, oh, I store fat this way, or my body doesn't lose fat like that. And you were just like, no, we just need to do some recomposition. Be patient, but we need to do some recomposition.
Yeah, be patient,
and
for sure.
Oh, best thing I did. But one of the best things I've done in my life is FHK.
Thank you. I'm so glad.
So I want to pivot and talk about what else that you do.
Oh yeah, let's open this can of worms.
Like, do you call it like Germanic healing? How do you like call it, and like what is it? And then I have some very big questions for you.
Yes, so I call it Germanic healing knowledge. It's also known as German New Medicine, and that is probably the name that it's more known as in North America. They're the exact same thing. The founder of it's actually Germanische Heilkunde. The founder of it, he wanted to move away from medicine because it's not something that you take. It is not a modality. It's Germanic healing knowledge. It's a knowledge, and when you understand how the body works from the 5 biological laws, you have no fear of any symptom. And it is really such a breath of fresh air, and it brings you so much closer to peace when you actually test this out for yourself. So I always say to people, and we all say this all of my colleagues say this, we're like, don't just take our word for it. When you hear this knowledge, start to test it out in your life.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's what I teach, and that's what I help women with. So if they have any symptoms that they've tried everything for, and they're chronic, then they come to me and we deal with them. Because if we are honest, conventional medicine and the holistic world as well, which we're both in, they fail us when it comes to chronic health.
Yeah.
Right? Chronic symptoms. Don't get me wrong. If we have a traumatic accident, I'm very grateful for emergency medicine. But outside of that, honestly, I will not be ever in a doctor's office.
We have the same view, and like I've had some listeners who've been with me, like OG, and German New Medicine is similar-ish into kind of what I used to do in terms of there's like essentially an emotional, energetic like root behind it. The gut issues, the skin issues, the PCOS, all the things. It's not only not something to fear, but it's not because you need like all these external things. It's not the outside things. It's the internal conflicts in your body that are essentially manifesting physically. So I'd love for you to kind of like touch on, like maybe let's start with women's hormones or something like that. Like what the perspective of German New Medicine is, for example, and like irregular periods and stuff like that.
Yeah, so just to quickly go over like the framework of Germanic healing knowledge and what is actually like why the body's responding in a certain way, or basically how it's different from psychosomatics is there had to be a specific conflict shock, so something in your life that was basically life-threatening, and your body thought it had to adapt for survival. So imprints the brain, creates an adaptation at the organ level. And the healing typically is when we are getting the symptoms, and that is when we run to the doctors to try and figure out what's happening. But it's actually a beautiful healing process, and we try and intervene with it. So you have to actually take off your conventional and holistic glasses off and put like new ones on when you're looking at the world through the lens of the GHK paradigm. So I just wanted to mention that.
And it's so funny because like once you understand, because there's certain conflicts that correspond with certain symptoms, it's right every single time. It's not even like a little bit off. It's like you can trace it. And I remember even like there would be times I was training at the gym, like then I'd get knee pain and I'm like, this is not the gym. I'm like, oh shit, where have I been self-evaluating? Okay, we're good. Like, and I would do that. And even with my mom having breast cancer, I know exactly it was when Kurt and I were gonna move like out of province. Within a few months of that, all of a sudden she had breast cancer. Why? Not because I was fleeing the nest in terms of I'd been moved out, but she was crying at me when we told her. She thought I was gonna leave her forever. She'd be alone. There we go, manifest breast cancer, the exact route that German New Medicine says. And I was like, right every single time.
Yeah, and so breast cancer is nest worry conflict, so a worry in the nest, right? So if we think biologically, right, GHK is biological medicine, then we are trying to produce more milk to try and support our nest. So typically, if any of the listeners can think about someone they know who has developed breast cancer, there has always been something in the nest that happened before they were diagnosed. Okay, and yeah, there's actually tons of resources that we can give listeners to read more success stories with breast cancer. But this is why I'm so passionate about this, because similar to Olivia, or similar to you, my mom was diagnosed with lung cancer, which was actually just her body healing from pinpointable conflicts that she had in her life. And we interfered by, giving her chemo and drugs that she ultimately ended up taking her life, when if she had just completed the healing process, or if we had known this information at that time, we could have, shifted her perspective of situations to avoid it from being chronic.
I'd like to, we talk about interfering. I know we touched on fear. I want to touch on like the fear aspect of it, because I find for so many men, whether it's breast cancer, but also like the fear when people's like skin breaks out and acne, then they fear that. Like, I feel like fear is relative to all symptoms. So I'd love for you to touch on fear and how that exacerbates symptoms or results in like a hanged healing.
Yeah, so there's 2 phases. One of the biological laws, there's 5. There's 2 phases of healing. So the first phase is conflict active phase. So that's typically when you are like not sleeping, you're trying to figure out a solution. That's like when the event or the stress is like happening, and maybe your heart's racing and things like that. And then there's the second phase, which is the healing phase. And that's typically when the symptoms are showing up, you're getting redness, inflammation, and things like that. And that is when we see the symptoms. So say, for example, you see the pimple and you're like, oh my gosh, I have this pimple. You start, devaluing yourself, saying maybe, ew, disgusting. We actually call this self-disgust conflict in Germanic healing knowledge. And that is actually when you are sending your system back to that first phase of healing. So that's when you get this feedback loop and you're continuing the cycle over and over again, rather than if you were to see the symptom and be like, oh my gosh, I'm healing. Like, wow, thank you, body, for adapting to a moment in time where I either felt attacked or I felt like I was saying self-disgusting, I was speaking poorly to my skin or to myself. So it's always traceable. And the reason why we get stuck in that cycle is because we've been conditioned to fear our symptoms. Right?
So it sounds like the biggest thing is people need to not fear the symptom, no matter what it is. It could be a pimple, it could be breast cancer, it doesn't matter, like all in between. Don't look at it, this is something I used to tell my clients, don't look at it as like your body is against you. It's like, thank you. It's a feedback. It's always giving us feedback, which is perfect, because it's giving us such specific feedback, exactly what we are doing. But so many people, I think, aren't grateful, and they get into that fixing, like something is wrong, and they end up trying to fix something for so long, and that's when things get chronic, because they keep themselves in this loop, and you can keep yourself in that loop forever. Like, I know people who are still trying to heal their physical symptoms, and I'm like, how? Because they actually can't like get to that first stage of the gratitude, like the thankful, and not being in fear of the symptom.
I was just saying, like, I literally have goosebumps because the amount of wisdom that is in symptoms, if you can look at it, like you're saying, with gratitude and say, okay, what wisdom is for me here? Like, what is there to learn? Where am I, either not speaking loving to myself, or where am I perceiving something not in a way that's serving me, and not in a loving way. So it's just really cool to see, and you will hear all the time too, like, it's just genetic, it's passed down. No,
your conflict is passed
down. Your perception is passed down, and personalities and things like that. So it was actually one of my mentors. He teaches GHK. He groups symptoms together based on what enneagram you are.
Oh my God.
So cool. So basically Enneagram 7 is more prone to like more heady conflicts, like headaches and pain and things like that. And that, it was very, very cool. And I learned it that way, to group it, because certain personalities are more prone to certain conflict shocks.
Okay, right? Do you remember what an Enneagram 3, because I'm an Enneagram 3. What's an Enneagram 3?
3 is like the high achiever.
Yeah.
I don't remember what your symptoms would be, but I feel like it would be like gut, and it would be, I also know you, but indigestible morsel conflicts and things like that, because things that would be, if you're a perfectionist, it would be hard to accept anything less than that.
Probably,
That's my
I love that. So the biggest thing I think people need to take away is that to start looking at their body and their symptoms as like the feedback, and if you can do that, that's the biggest like perspective shift, and start doing that with anything from like your knee hurts to a pimple on your face, and using that instead of fearing it or working against it.
Yes. Step 1, take a deep breath, try and laugh about it. Step 2, know that there's more available to you. And it's probably not in the doctor's office.
No. It's probably not. And if anything, that can just make you feel more fear.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get on this hamster wheel. Like if you hurt your knee or something, you're like running to all these people, taking all these tests. That's, again, putting you back into that hamster wheel. And with love, doctors and, naturopaths, they have the best intentions, right? We all went to school to help people, right? But this isn't the information that is mainstream, right? And it's not going to change from the system down. It's not going to be doctors educating us because it's coming from the school system and government and things like that. It has to come from the roots.
Yeah.
So this is why I'm so passionate about at least one woman in every family learning this information, because it can actually, women control a lot of the dynamic of a family, or they're very influential in the family. But then it can actually, create so much more harmony and peace and understanding and growth and also compassion, right? Yeah. When you see people, this is one of the reasons I'm so passionate about it, is when you see someone acting a certain way, or, with a mental disorder or something like that, people can be really quick to judge, but instead saying, okay, what happened in that person's life to make them behave that way, right? And it's like, okay, like, we can work with them that way, rather than just kind of like shunning them and being like, okay, they need an institution.
You're so right. And I think even like both empowering from that standpoint and the self-empowerment, when you realize that, it's actually so much more freeing than to live by the fear. Yeah. And even with my mom, like understanding the roots was freeing and also really helped me like understand. And I was like, oh, I love that I can understand it, because I was never in fear. There was not one part of me for a second that feared for her, because I understood the conflict, and I was like, oh, I understand the conflict is just healing itself, wonderful. And that is like, to be free from the fear is so huge.
Yeah, fear's the biggest, fear's the disease.
That's it. And when you're free from that, you're not scared of any symptom or any diagnosis. There's nothing to be scared of. Why would I be scared of my body doing what it's supposed to do by healing? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which brings me to like a big question I have for you, which I know is going to stir the pot. And I know my fiance is going to laugh. With the fear, people also tend to fear things they perceive as contagious. Oh. I want to touch on this, guys. Kurt will come over to me. He's like, oh, I caught a cold from like our niece G. Oh, I don't want to catch this. I'm like, you can't catch anything. Contagion is not real. Can you explain this for people? And also, I want you to tell the story, because I still remember the story you told me when you were at the gym and the old lady with the sanitizing. Oh, yeah. Honestly, that story stuck with me. So I want you to tell like the truth about why we don't need to fear contagion, and that story with the old lady, because I think if she can wrap her head around it, then anyone can.
Well, first of all, the founder, I guess, of the germ theory, first of all, theory, okay? We need to understand what that word means. Theory is basically like an idea, a hypothesis, like, oh, maybe this might be true. And it has never been fully proven. It's never been conclusive. However, the entire system is built on this. And, what's it called? Validative. There's a word in.
I know what you mean. Like essentially, it's just validating itself over and over again.
Yeah, basically enough people say it, and then it's validated. A really good book recommendation, The End to Upside Down Medicine by Mark Grober. He goes through everything when it comes to that. But yeah, also too, let's just make it make sense. If contagion theory were to be true, or if germ theory, if I were to able to, throw a microbe at you and you would be able to catch it, we would not have a species. Like, how would we even be surviving? So, yeah, that is just not a paradigm or an idea that I participate in, because it doesn't make sense and I don't see it play out. So, whereas in Germanic healing knowledge, we see microbes as healers and helpers, which they actually are. So for example, we were talking about acne. So when you experience that conflict, so either that attack or that self-disgust conflict, your corneum skin layer thickens, okay, to try and protect you. How cool is that? To protect you from more attacks or more, self-disgust. So it thickens, and then when we, resolve that conflict, bacteria come to the site to help break down the skin that is no longer needed. And then that's when you see like the pus and the inflammation, things like that. So that is actually what microbes are for. They're not to be caught and thrown around and to wreak havoc. They're very meaningful and purposeful.
So why do people perceive that like, oh, I caught a cold from my friend, or they're in a house, oh, I caught the cold because my kid is sick and they brought it home from school? Like, what is the perception that makes them think that they caught it? Are they both just in the same conflict, or what's going on there?
Yeah, so a cold would be a conflict or like a fearing danger, so fearing a threat. So why do you think colds were so prevalent during the COVID pandemic? Because everybody was scared and fearing danger in their spaces. So of course, if you're together with people and you're like, oh my gosh, am I gonna catch a cold? Or I heard them sneeze, oh no, so then you start that adaptation program. That's a conflict shock. Even though it might be like on the subconscious level and it might be light, it will still show up for you if you're not aware, right?
Okay.
I can't remember the last time I had a cold.
So like I'm a mom and then like I have kids and like they bring home a cold. It's like I think, or I'm scared I'm gonna get the cold because I'm gonna catch it, and that whole thing is what makes me catch it in the first place.
Yes.
And then or things like, oh, it's back to school season, so they're gonna get sick. Like it's that time of year. That's where you go. There's all these germs flying around.
Yeah, and they also, children too, like being away from their parents, like they can be fearing danger that way as well. So it's not biological for mothers to be away from their children at that young of an age. So the daycare bugs, like they're not, it's just because it's not biological, them being away from their family or their mom for so long. Just like we see lots of rashes and things like that in babies, that's separation conflict.
I love this because I think it's so empowering when you realize you can't catch a cold. There's nothing to catch.
Yeah.
And I say this all the time. And Chris I'm like, you cannot catch a cold.
Oh, I'm the
worst. You cannot
worst.
catch it.
I need to, it's very projector of me. I need to like not do it sometimes, but somebody will have a mask on or something, and I'm only if like we're in communication, I'm like, don't worry, viruses don't exist.
Can you tell the story about the gym and like the sanitizing equipment with the older lady? Because I think that's such a beautiful story.
Oh yeah, she was so sweet. She was cleaning my hamstring curl machine, and I was like, oh, honestly, don't worry. Like, I don't believe in germs anyway. And then she was like, wait, I don't know if I remember it right, but she was like, what do you mean? And I educated her, and then she was like, this is so life-changing. I have so much fear. I've been having fear for so long. Like, I feel so much better. I'm gonna look into this. And I like shared some resources with her, and she was like, thank you so much, which is so cool, right? So now she is going to, be closer to peace, and then she's going to bring someone closer to peace.
Yeah,
right. And
because she was open.
Be peace.
Yeah, she was open to hearing it.
Yeah,
and kind of like what you just said. Like I'm sure you told her kind of what you just told us in terms of like the germs, and it's just like, oh, once you kind of like open yourself and you kind of like look at it, you're like, oh, there is like nothing to fear, and then you don't have to live in fear.
Yeah, and even if we think about too, so we're always collecting evidence, right?
Yes.
So if we're choosing to cling to a fear-based belief, like germs cause disease or germs cause sickness, then we are going to collect evidence for that belief. Okay, if we choose to believe that, I am responsible for my perception, and or just believe in the 5 biological laws, what brings you closer to peace? What makes you feel better?
Yeah.
Right? Whether or not, science aside, even though it is science aside, what brings you closer to peace?
I feel like that's what people are really looking for anyways when they are fixating on their symptoms, or they're really just trying to get back to peace, but you can't get back to peace through fear because you're always going to fear the next thing, or you're going to fear it's not going to last. Like you can't get through fear to peace. The way to peace is not through fear. Like there's always going to be technically something you can be like fearful of.
Yeah.
I love this. I feel like everyone, like you said, there needs to be at least one woman in every family who thinks this way and like can perceive this way, so we can start passing on like more of this. Is there anything more you feel like you want people listening to really know and understand when it comes to like GNM and their bodies and their symptoms, or like if there's a perspective shift that you really want to like offer them?
So first of all, there are 2 things actually. I want to touch on women's hormones, specifically just menstrual pain, because I know, or like, rough periods, because I know that's common. That's going to be any sort of ugly conflict with a male. So that is something I love to dive deep into, because it's just some perception shifts. So that is that one. And then also too, something Dr. Joe talks about a lot is that we are, like, the smallest part of us is atoms. We're made up of atoms. And we are 99.9% like space and 1% matter. Yeah. Okay, so we are more, he says we're more nothing than something, and I like to say we're more potential, like we're more potential than anything. So we are always collecting inputs, okay? And we get to determine what to do with that output. So we can make something poison, we can make something medicine, we always have the opportunity, like the power is within us. And that is something we definitely come together on, because you put the power back in women's hands, I like to put the power back in women's hands. And even though, it looks a little bit different, it really is the same.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's like power of the symptoms, power of the mind, power of the business. But it's all, that is, I think, coming back to the fact that you are powerful. And I think when you realize how powerful you are, that's when the fear goes away. And that's also when I think you're able to even access the level of consciousness that allows you to zoom out and have that perspective shift of like, oh, I actually am powerful enough to see what conflict is going on. Let me evaluate. All right, I have menstrual pain. This is what's going on. I got acne. This is what's going on. But you can't do that unless you first like actually believe in yourself and the power. You believe the power is within you, not in something outside of you.
Yeah.
I love this conversation. Where can people find you? Because I know, especially because I don't do this anymore, they're going to want to like solve all their symptoms and dive into your world. I know you share a lot about, different symptoms and perspectives on your page. So like, where can we connect with you? Where can we find you?
Yeah, my Instagram with Alisa, there's 2 A's at the end. And I have a free intro in my bio, actually, if you want to like just watch a little video on Introduction to Germanic Healing Knowledge, totally free. Just click that. And then you can also book a consult with me, a 1-to-1. And then I will be doing some live talks starting in November, going on a little tour. So I'm excited for that. And then For Her Kind, for all things body recomposition. And yeah.
We will leave the links for Her Kind, for your Instagram, for all that down below, because every woman needs this. And while I don't want to talk about it anymore, Alisa is incredible, and it's her like zone. I've been trying to get her to like go more into this for a long time. So I'm so glad like you're really stepping into this now, because like you said, every woman needs to know this, because it's also going to revolutionize, I think, the quote unquote medical field, or like the health field in terms of how we view health, how we understand health, but also how we approach health and symptoms going forward. Like I see this being the new way.
It is. It's
the old way, because it's always there. But you know what I mean by it's like it's the new old.
Yeah, and like if you're not learning this stuff, what are you doing? Like it's time. The time is now. The other stuff is just so outdated.
Yeah. Okay. Alisa, thank you so much for your time, your wisdom. I know everyone's going to be like, oh my God, from this episode, they're going to want to save it and re-listen to it. So thank you so much for taking the time, like I said, and sharing on the Beyond Limits podcast.
Thank you.
If you're loving this podcast, click follow on your favorite listening platform. And while you're there, give us a 5-star rating and share an episode you love with a friend so that they can live beyond limits too.